Let's take a look at this. This is from the Bleacher Report. And they come out and say the Browns must draft a quarterback day 2. So that would be the second and third rounds. Create competition, a fallback option. It would also give the opportunity to prove himself in the 5th year of his contract. So I do think at some point they need to get a younger quarterback. They obviously didn't have one as backup. What are your thoughts? Do you think they take somebody in the first 3 rounds as a quarterback?
I still think, for me, there are more pressing needs. It's going to take a lot, and it's going to take a big free agency move for me to get off of. They need to get a receiver in the first round. And I think other than that, some other pressing positions for them would be to get another edge rusher if Clowney leaves, to get better at that defensive tackle spot. And the reality of the situation is we all know this quarterback draft is not super deep. And a guy like Kenny Pickett is probably going to go even before the Browns get to draft in the first round. But there just aren't a ton of guys. A guy like Malik Willis, I'm curious to see how his draft stock rises out of Liberty. But again, that's another smaller quarterback. So kind of wondering some similarities with Baker Mayfield there. But I don't know that it is a necessarily they must draft somebody this year, because obviously, again, when we did that series, there were a ton of different options. And another option would be to bring in a veteran who, maybe isn't going to immediately be a starter right away. And we were jokingly calling it the Teddy Bridgewater option. It's kind of a guy like that who could come in and it's believable that he could be a backup and he could compete with Baker Mayfield and potentially has some upside. So I do think there are other ways around needing to draft somebody necessarily, considering the other needs this team has.
Yeah, I would agree. And the only thing I would say is if Andrew Berry and the front office absolutely falls in love with somebody at the quarterback position, which they could, if they think this guy has the ability to be a starter in the league, then I could see them, taking them in the second. Well, if they fall in love with Willis, I could see them, if he slides to 13, taking him. But it has to be somebody you are sure you feel really good about, I think.
And who they feel really good about being able to run Kevin Stefanski's system, I think. And when we talk about, me and my colleagues about receivers they could bring in, we think it's important to bring in a younger receiver who you can mold in a somewhat strange offense where receivers aren't necessarily putting up huge numbers. You need to get a guy in on the ground floor and explain, this is what we need you to do. We don't need you to be getting 200 yards every single game. It allows them a chance to get a guy that they think fits their culture and fits this specific system that Kevin Stefanski developed. So that certainly is an option. If there's a guy you feel like you can't pass up and you have an opportunity to go get him, we've seen how Andrew Berry operates. Not many GMs would be trading up to get a linebacker in round 2, right? I don't know how many people expected that to happen with Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. But he saw a guy that he thought would fit this team, and it was a home run pick last year.
Yeah, agree that, again, and Andrew Berry has somewhat earned the benefit of the doubt with the last 2 drafts.